In episode 169, Gu Yu, a half-saint, has appeared and is about to engage in a fierce battle with Xiao. Make sure to watch episodes 168 to 175. We've clearly divided them into parts so you can follow the story easily. Beneath the Bodhi ancient tree, Xiao endured 100 cycles of reincarnation, directly stepping onto the peak of the 9-turn Do Venerate, obtaining countless supreme treasures. When Xiao and his companions found the Bodhi ancient tree, they were shocked to discover that from within the tree, 5 powerful semi-sage puppets were released, mere puppets controlled by the ancient tree. Immediately after, Xiao and the others were subdued by the tree's strength and fell into an illusion. If not for the Bodhi seed he had obtained earlier that awakened him, perhaps he too would have become like those semi-sage puppets, forever lost. When the illusion shattered, Xiao realized he was in a verdant space. Before him appeared a jade-like miniature manifestation of the Bodhi ancient tree. Furious, he questioned it, and the tree responded with radiant light, revealing memories of ancient times. Long ago, an ancient Do emperor attacked, attempting to seize the divine tree to heal his wounds. Yet in the end, that Do emperor was slain by another mysterious Do emperor who had joined forces with the Bodhi ancient tree. However, the resentment of the fallen emperor seeped into the tree, and after tens of thousands of years of corrosion, the once pure spirit of the tree gave birth to a dark and evil will. The tree pleaded for Xiaoyan's aid in purging this shadow. At first, Xiao thought it impossible, for this was power left behind by a Do emperor far beyond his capacity. But the tree revealed a method to use heavenly flames to refine Bodhi seeds, producing pure qi to cleanse the corruption. When more than 20 Bodhi seeds appeared before him, treasures that could cause upheaval outside, Xiao was stunned. Though he felt it wasteful, he began the attempt. The process was grueling, consuming vast time and Do qi until finally one seed transformed into a thread of pure qi. When infused into the tree, a wisp of black miasma was forced out and dispersed, proving the method effective. Yet even a single seed drained him utterly. As Xiao prepared to rest, the Bodhi ancient tree released radiant green light, manifesting an ancient jade meditation mat. When he sat upon it, his body trembled violently. Spiritual energy surged like tides into him, instantly replenishing his exhaustion, even widening his meridians, while pure qi poured from his heavenly crown. Clearly, the meditation mat contained wondrous power to restore and cultivate. The energy bestowed by the tree not only refilled his Do qi, but permanently expanded his reserves like an endless spring. This meant the chance to surpass the wall of Do Saint became far greater. Realizing this immense boon, Xiao no longer held back. He continuously refined Bodhi seeds using pure qi to wash away the black resentment. Each time he succeeded, the tree returned abundant spiritual energy, restoring him instantly. His strength steadily advanced. At last, when the final trace of black energy vanished, all resentment was cleansed. Yet Xiao, drained after so long, fell unconscious. The Bodhi ancient tree gently shone, pulling him into the jade mat and merging him within its body like an unmoving statue. Then the space ruptured, casting out his companions in disarray. When they awoke, they were shaken. Had Xiao not cleansed the resentment of the Do emperor, they too would have been trapped in illusions forever, like the semi-sage puppets. When all gazes turned to the verdant Bodhi tree, Shun immediately realized Xiao was fusing with it, her expression changing greatly. But Gu Qingyang stopped her, reminding that this might be a great fortune. According to ancient texts, the Bodhi ancient tree possessed 3 supreme treasures: the Bodhi heart, the Bodhi seeds, and the most mysterious enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree. It was said to grant one the chance to endure 100 reincarnations, opening the potential to step into the ranks of the 5 Do emperors. Even if mere legend, it was enough to drive countless experts mad. And at this very moment, Xiao was within that legendary chance. Meanwhile, on the face of Zhu Feng of the heavenly demon Phoenix clan, his usual calm twisted with envy. Such a great fortune seized by someone he despised was unbearable. Beside him, Hun Yu still wore a gentle smile, but his twitching fingers betrayed inner unrest. Facing such a monumental chance, no one could keep a tranquil heart. Han Yu even regretted not having summoned the clan's experts earlier to slay Xiao when breaking through the beast tide outside. At the time, he had feared interference from the Gu clan, but now regret was useless. This place had become a sealed realm, cut off from all communication. Han Yu and Zhu Feng exchanged glances, murderous intent flashing in their eyes. Almost simultaneously, their figures shot forward like lightning toward the Bodhi ancient tree, unleashing their full might to sever Xiaoyan's enlightenment. But Shuna immediately reacted, golden flames bursting forth to intercept. Yet Hun Yu and Zhu Feng ignored her and struck directly at the tree. The moment their strikes landed, a terrifying backlash erupted, blasting them both away. Severely wounded, they spat blood and fell in disarray. The crowd was stunned. The Bodhi ancient tree's power far exceeded imagination, not something they could oppose. Shuna glanced at Xiaoyan, seeing him safe and unmoved and calmed. Her gaze then turned cold upon Hun Yu and Zhu Feng, blazing like flames. But Gu Qingyang restrained her, warning that provoking a fight now might ruin Xiaoyan's fortune. Hun Yu and Zhu Feng staggered up, faces grim. They understood the backlash came from the tree itself, not Xiaoyan, and knew they had no way to breach its protection. Unwilling yet powerless, the situation fell into a tense stalemate. Three great forces eyed one another with hostility, while lone experts dared not act rashly, secretly searching for escape. Gu Qingyang quietly remarked to Shun that the Bodhi ancient tree seemed to have a special connection with Xiaoyan. Otherwise, he too would have been trapped in the illusion like the others. Shuna agreed, realizing this strange space was unbreakable, so they could only wait for Xiaoyan to awaken. Medusa firmly declared she would never abandon Xiaoyan and warned everyone to be wary of Hun Yu's schemes. Thus, the group reached consensus, waiting while healing and cultivating. The abundant vitality here benefited them greatly. Many eliminated hidden injuries and even advanced in strength. Time flowed slowly in this mysterious realm. About a month later, the Bodhi ancient tree remained silent, and Xiaoyan still sat in meditation, his aura completely concealed, almost undetectable. Though Shun and the others sometimes worried, they endured patiently. As more days passed, restlessness grew among some, unwilling to remain prisoners. 7 days later, one person snapped, rushing at the tree. At that moment, the figure within stirred. Under countless gazes, Xiaoyan slowly opened his eyes, ending more than a month of profound enlightenment. When his gaze emerged, the entire space shifted subtly, carrying an ancient depth as if spanning endless years, making all feel their souls penetrated. Shuna cried out in joy, calling his name, while Hun Yu and Zhu Feng felt deeply uneasy, as though all their secrets had been laid bare. Everyone fell silent, waiting to see what changes enlightenment beneath the Bodhi tree had brought to Xiaoyan. Under the shade of the Bodhi ancient tree, he endured countless cycles of reincarnation. When he finally awoke, his cultivation leaped from 9-star Du Venerate directly to 9-turn Dao Venerate, shocking all witnesses. Even more fortunate, he was granted countless Bodhi seeds by the ancient tree, which made both the Han clan and the heavenly demon Phoenix clan burn with envy. Han Yu, a powerhouse at the 8-turn Du Venerate level, brazenly demanded the Bodhi seeds, his voice full of menace. But Xiaoyan was no fool. He knew clearly that Bodhi seeds could help a Du Venerate step into the ranks of a Du San. Handing them over would be no different than courting death. Xiaoyan smiled calmly, looked directly at Hun Yu and said, "If you want them, come and take them yourself." Hun Yu's handsome, jade-like face immediately darkened, murderous intent flooding forth. What he hated most was Xiaoyan's relaxed, confident demeanor, as though everything was already in his grasp. Han Yu sneered coldly, believing Xiaoyan was only bluffing, but Xiaoyan remained unmoved, speaking indifferently. "Those little tricks in the shadows are useless against me." As soon as his words fell, Xiaoyan suddenly punched into the empty space on his left. Scorching energy shattered the void, forcing Hun Yu to reveal himself, staggering back. He never expected his stealth to be completely exposed, his expression growing gloomier. Without wasting words, Xiaoyan stepped forward. His aura surged like a vast ocean, covering the entire void, suffocating weaker cultivators. The spectators trembled in shock, for they could clearly sense that Xiaoyan now stood at the very peak of the 9-turn Dao Venerate, countless times stronger than he had been just a month ago. Even Hun Yu shivered. At last he understood why Xiaoyan dared to remain so composed. His cultivation had far surpassed his own. Still, Hun Yu forcefully ignited his clan's markings, his aura erupting to the extreme limit of the 8-turn Du Venerate. Xiaoyan merely shook his head blandly. That level is still not enough. Enraged Han Yu formed hand seals condensing a dark palm print accompanied by eerie wails and distorted faces of souls, his killing move the soul-destroying palm. Yet before Xiaoyan, with just a casual wave of his hand, the palm shattered like brittle glass. Hun Yu was horrified, unable to believe such a lethal technique had been so easily dispelled. Looking down coldly from above, Xiaoyan said with disdain, "The so-called methods of the Han clan are not even worth mentioning." Fury surged in Hun Yu's chest, but he also understood the disparity was overwhelming. Xiaoyan gave him no further chance. He waved his hand flames, forming a colossal palm that descended from the heavens. Han Yu desperately summoned countless shadowy beasts to resist, yet the instant they touched the fire, they were reduced to nothingness. Finally, his defenses were crushed by the fiery palm blood spraying from his mouth as he fell heavily, gravely wounded. The crowd gasped in terror, thankful they were not the ones standing opposite Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan then struck again from afar, sending several Hun clan and Heavenly Demon Phoenix clan experts flying. Jufeng, witnessing Hun Yu's miserable defeat, turned pale with fear. Just as Xiaoyan was about to seize the opportunity to eradicate his foes, the entire space suddenly trembled. The Bodhi ancient tree emitted a deep hum, the earth flowing like mercury, as the colossal trunk slowly sank into the ground. A wave of regret washed over all present, for perhaps in their entire lives, they would never again witness such a sight, let alone the legendary Bodhi heart. Only Xiaoyan was aware that within his own chest, a jade-green Bodhi heart was quietly radiating light. At the very moment everyone lowered their guard, space around them twisted violently like an invisible cage, sealing all escape. Above the skies behind Jufeng, a colossal heavenly emperor phantom appeared. Its wings covered the heavens, sealing the entire area with oppressive might. Feeling Xiaoyan's cold gaze sweep over, Jufeng panicked and shouted toward Hun Yu, "Are you still not acting?" Hun Yu sneered sinisterly, taking out a scroll and crushing it. Instantly, spatial ripples surged into Jufeng's body. Borrowing its force, he tore open the void, revealing a deep, pitch-black passage. From within, the crack waves of terrifying pressure spread out, causing everyone's faces to change. It was the aura of a half-sage. Xiaoyan immediately recognized that they were summoning a powerhouse of the clan. Moments later, a pale, skeletal hand stretched out from the void fissure. A hoarse cough echoed as an old, hunched figure in gray robes emerged, leaning on a skull-shaped staff. His hollow eyes glowed with eerie green light, sending chills down the spines of all who looked. Hun Yu hurriedly stepped forward, explaining that Xiaoyan had reached the peak of the 9-turn Du Venerate and possessed the Bodhi seeds, thus requiring the elder to act personally. This elder was none other than Gu Yu. His green eyes gleamed as he stared intently at Xiaoyan, his shriveled face curling into a strange smile. Gu Qingyang and the other elders of the Gu clan immediately attempted to use spatial scrolls to call for aid, but discovered that all fluctuations were blocked by Jufeng's Heavenly Emperor Phantom, preventing transmission. Gu Yu swept his gaze around, declaring himself once the second Heavenly Venerate of the Hall of Souls, but now preferring the title of Saint Gu Yu. He said he had long heard of Xiaoyan, especially intrigued by his ability to fuse different heavenly flames. Under the crushing aura of this half-sage, Xiaoyan understood the massive gap between them. He resolved silently after this battle he must refine the Bodhi heart and step into the half-sage realm as soon as possible. Unfurling his green-red skeletal wings, Xiaoyan instructed Shun-Er to buy time. On Shun'er's forehead, a 7-colored sigil appeared, her aura surging as golden flames erupted in her eyes. She stood firmly in front of Gu Yu. Though Gu Yu acknowledged her divine-grade bloodline potential, he remained confident she was far from his match. His figure blurred, instantly appearing before her with a palm strike. Shun-Er staggered back from the blow, but immediately formed seals. The golden flames within her body exploded forth, blazing like a sun that set the skies aflame. Gu Yu stared at the terrifying fire and slowly uttered its name. The Golden Emperor Flame ranked 4th on the Heavenly Flame ranking, the inherited flame of the Gu clan. He had not expected Shun-Er to control such a flame, and his heart shook. The Golden Emperor Flame's power was so immense that even Xiaoyan's fused flames might not surpass it. Battle continues. Shun-Er deploys the Golden Emperor Burning Flame Array. Gu Yu fuses with his skeletal avatar. The array shatters. Finally, Xiaoyan condenses the Buddha's Wrath Flame, Lotus, infused with 5 flames, blasting apart Gu Yu's myriad soul's bone armor, leaving him gravely wounded. At this moment, Xiaoyan held in his palm a perfect five-colored flame lotus, rotating slowly like a masterpiece of divine art. The destructive energy it released twisted the surrounding space. Seeing it, Guyu's skeletal form rasped that it must be the product of flame fusion. Yet Xiaoyan only sneered coldly, raising his hand as the flame lotus spun faster. Terrifying waves of annihilation spread out, making onlookers tremble just to glance at it. Xiaoyan warned Shun'er to retreat quickly, for once the lotus erupted, even he could barely control its devastating might. Sensing the threat, Shun'er quickly withdrew, with Gu Qingyang and the others. The skeletal avatar laughed hideously, trying to crush Xiaoyan's spirit. The gulf between a Do Venerate and a half-sage can never be crossed, but Xiaoyan did not waver. With a flick of his finger, the flame lotus shot forward like a streak of light. Wherever it passed, the void silently collapsed, leaving behind a yawning black fissure. There was no deafening explosion, yet every expert present felt the clear aura of death within it. Guyu dared not be careless. He spat out black qi, manifesting the myriad souls' bone armor. Ferocious souls burst from his body, merging into a pale armor that radiated dark light. It was embedded with countless bone fragments, each etched with a twisted, tormented face, combining into a grotesque visage that sent chills through the crowd. But before his words even finished, the flame lotus crashed violently against it. For a moment, heaven and earth seemed to halt. Then came a world-shaking detonation, followed by a fiery storm 1,000 meters wide, tearing apart space and splitting the ground into massive fissures. Spectators were horrified. Even Zhu Feng's heavenly emperor phantom was ripped apart, leaving him grievously injured and coughing blood. When the flames subsided, Guyu's skeletal form still stood, but his armor began to crack and crumble. Soon his body split apart, his ghostly green eyes dimming before his entire skeletal frame disintegrated into ash. Far away, Guyu's true body coughed blood, face pale as he regained clarity. Wiping his lips, he coldly declared, "Even gravely wounded, I will still take Xiaoyan's life." But at that instant, Xiaoyan transformed into a colossal golden figure, his fist slamming Guyu back, leaving him battered. Just as Guyu prepared to retaliate again, a spatial crack opened. Yao Lao Yao Chen stepped forth. He mocked, "To rely on your seniority and bully a junior, truly disgraceful." Xiaoyan rejoiced at his teacher's timely arrival, but Yao Lao merely said calmly, "I came only because I was worried." Moments later, Elder Tongshuan also descended using a spatial scroll. Two half-sages stood at Xiaoyan's side, making Guyu's face darken to its limit. After weighing his options, Guyu gritted his teeth and withdrew with the remnants of the Han clan and heavenly demon Phoenix clan. Yao Lao and Tongshuan Elder warned Xiaoyan, "The Han clan will never let this go. The Falling Star Pavilion will inevitably face even greater storms in the future." Xiaoyan understood deeply. Only by refining the Bodhi heart and stepping into the half-sage realm could he face the coming upheaval. Tongshuan Elder added firmly, "The Gu clan will always watch the Han clan's movements. When needed, we will not stand idly by." In the end, he led Shun'er and the others back to the Gu realm, while Xiaoyan and Yao Lao prepared for seclusion. Everyone knew this clash was merely the prelude. Greater storms awaited on the horizon. Xiaoyan shatters limits 9-turn Dao Venerate, stepping into the semi-sage realm. Awakening, he cuts down, Hun Yu crushes, Zhu Feng of the heavenly demon, Phoenix clan, and shakes the battlefield. From the shadows, Guyu of the Han clan descends. Just when hope fades, Yao Lao arrives, saving Xiaoyan and the Gu clan in the nick of time. Finally, after leaving the Bodhi ancient tree, Xiaoyan and his companions returned to the Falling Star Pavilion, carrying with them tremendous harvest, the Bodhi heart, along with 11 Bodhi seeds. This was an opportunity for him to break through to semi-sage while the Han clan returned empty-handed. Back at Falling Star Pavilion, Xiaoyan postponed his refinement and spent time adjusting his state and preparing carefully. Yao Lao spared no effort, spending half a month to refine a Bodhi pill that would greatly increase Xiaoyan's chance of success. Their master-disciple bond was deeply portrayed when Xiaoyan kowtowed in gratitude, treating Yao Lao not only as a teacher, but also as a father figure. Finally, Xiaoyan entered seclusion, beginning a 2-year closed-door cultivation, preparing for a pivotal moment in his life, breaking through to semi-sage to oppose the Han clan and seize the purifying demonic lotus flame. After consuming the Bodhi heart and Bodhi pill, Xiaoyan remained in seclusion for 2 full years, causing everyone in Falling Star Pavilion to be both anxious and expectant. During that time, under the leadership of Yao Lao and Honorable Feng, Falling Star Pavilion flourished, attracting countless experts due to the fame of the Bodhi pill.
Yet at that very moment catastrophe struck. A tide of half-saint adversaries descended upon the Falling Star Pavilion, forcing Yao Lao Medusa and the pavilion's experts to resist with their very lives. Yao Lao had nearly fallen, his life hanging by a thread. No one could have foreseen that Xiaoyan's seclusion would extend for a full 2 years. At first it was believed that with the Bodhi heart and the Bodhi pill, a single year would be enough for Xiaoyan to step into half-saint. Moreover, the Bodhi heart had long been rumoured to grant a Du Venerate the chance to directly ascend into the realm of Du Sant. Yet matters unfolded far beyond all expectations. A year slipped away in silence, and the stone gate of Xiaoyan's retreat grew thick, with moss, wild grass creeping across its surface until it became a forbidden ground within the Falling Star Pavilion. Though countless hearts were restless, Yao Lao could still faintly sense that weak yet steady aura emanating from deep within the mountain, proof that Xiaoyan was undergoing a most crucial metamorphosis. Thus, all they could do was wait. None dared interfere. And while the pavilion held its breath, the vast central plains had already begun to shift, the tides of fate turning in silence. The Hall of Souls Hundian had yet to retaliate, granting the Falling Star Pavilion the perfect chance to rise with unstoppable momentum, especially when word spread that Yao Lao had mastered the art of refining. The supreme Bodhi pill, countless reclusive peak Du venerates emerged from the shadows, one after another, pledging allegiance. All harbored the hope that one day they might obtain such a priceless spiritual elixir. To win Yao Lao's trust, they willingly contributed their strength to the pavilion, ushering in a surge of growth and prosperity. With so many experts joining, the pavilion's power swiftly soared until it rivaled the ancient heavenly netherworld sect, Tian Ming sect. Yet as both sides vied for dominance, conflict inevitably erupted. At first, their strengths were evenly matched, locked in stalemate. But in time, the heavenly netherworld sect, allied with other great factions such as the Ice River Valley, the Wind, Lightning Pavilion, and many others, forming the formidable Netherworld Alliance, Minghe Alliance. This coalition shattered the fragile balance. Once the Netherworld Alliance was established, their combined might grew overwhelming, launching relentless assaults against the Falling Star Pavilion. Caught off guard at first, the Falling Star Pavilion was forced to contract its territory. Yet even so, Yao Lao and the other elders remained calm. They regarded this not as disaster, but as an opportunity to restructure their foundation. The pavilion had grown too quickly, like a towering body with a hollow frame, seemingly mighty yet fragile within. Thus, they chose to withdraw into defense, concentrating their power upon vital regions while establishing spatial passageways between their strongholds to ensure reinforcements could arrive without delay. Through this strategy, the pavilion's defensive lines grew ever more solid. Time and again, the Netherworld Alliance launched fierce offensives, yet all were repelled. At last, they were forced to retreat in frustration. Though the Great War cost the Falling Star Pavilion some territory, its renown now spread far and wide across the Central Plains. To stand alone against an alliance of mighty factions yet still preserve its strength, such a feat was by no means ordinary. The Netherworld Alliance had originally intended to use the battle as a warning to all other forces, never imagining that the clash would instead cast the Falling Star Pavilion into even greater prominence. This outcome left the heavenly Netherworld sect and its allies deeply unsettled. Yet the peace within the Central Plains did not last long. Suddenly, earth-shattering news spread across the land. The Spirit Clan, one of the 3 immortal ancient clans, had vanished completely. Since the time of Xiaoyan's return from the Heavenly Tomb, there had been rumors that the spatial realm of the Spirit Clan had abruptly sealed itself, though few had paid attention. But recently, when the entrance to the Spirit Realm reopened, those who ventured within found only desolation, ruins, and silence. Millions of descendants had disappeared without a trace, leaving behind not the faintest clue. This revelation shook the Central Plains to its core, casting dread and confusion among the great powers. Many speculated that the clan had been annihilated, but even the mightiest of the ancient clans would find it nearly impossible to erase the Spirit Clan in such silence. Every conjecture proved insufficient to explain this mysterious disappearance, deepening the sense of dread. Even within the ranks of the immortal ancient clans, shockwaves rippled forth. Relations among the ancient clans were ever intricate, not true allies, yet not wholly enemies. Cooperation existed, but so too did endless rivalry. The fall of the Spirit Clan inevitably called to mind the great battle for the Emperor Jade in ages past. Judging by strength within the 8 ancient clans, only the Gu clan and the Hun clan possessed the power to accomplish such a deed. Suspicion most heavily fell upon the Hun clan, a force shrouded in mystery, infamous for its cruel and unfathomable methods. Thus, many secretly believed it was the Hun clan pulling the strings behind this calamity. Yet all remained speculation. The true secret behind the Spirit clan's disappearance lingered in shadow, an unsolved riddle. The vanishing of the Spirit clan not only plunged the Central Plains into shock, but also draped the entire continent in an air of unease. Though the furor eventually quieted, undercurrents began to stir within the ancient clans themselves. As time flowed on, the echoes of the Spirit tribe incident gradually faded, while the Central Plains continued to be engulfed by new waves of turmoil. Deep within the remote mountains where the Falling Star Pavilion resided, Xiao had remained in seclusion for nearly 2 years. At first, everyone believed that with the Bodhi heart in his possession, he would surely break through to Half-Saint within a year. Yet 2 full years had passed, and the stone gates of his chamber remained utterly silent, showing no sign of movement. So quiet had it been that weeds and moss now clung thickly to the doors, as though time itself had forsaken them. As new disciples gradually took the place of their seniors, Xiaoyan's prolonged absence began to stir suspicion. Some of the honored guest elders started to waver in confidence. After all, a breakthrough to Half-Saint should have shaken heaven and earth with strange phenomena. Yet the mountains where Xiaoyan secluded himself remained ever serene, without the slightest fluctuation. Even so, Yao Lao's faith did not falter. He had witnessed Xiaoyan's journey firsthand, from a frail youth into the formidable figure he was today. He understood the young man's willpower and potential. Thus, despite the murmurs from outside, he chose to wait steadfastly. Just as the pavilion was abuzz with rumors about Xiaoyan's long seclusion, a looming threat suddenly arose. A coalition of the heavenly Netherworld sect, the Ice River Valley, and the Wind Lightning Pavilion, known as the Netherworld Alliance, delivered a blood-red war declaration, proclaiming their intent to attack the Falling Star Pavilion within half a month. The challenge came abruptly. Having remained quiet for over a year, the Netherworld Alliance's sudden aggression clearly showed they had prepared well. Yao Lao sneered coldly, recognizing that the enemy must now have a powerful backer, likely the ancient monster of the heavenly Netherworld sect, finally emerging from seclusion. At his side, Medusa wore a grave expression, warning Yao Lao not to underestimate the threat. For if the Netherworld Alliance dared to strike so directly, they surely believed victory was within their grasp. Though the pavilion had grown stronger under Yao Lao's leadership during the past 2 years, facing the full might of the Netherworld Alliance would mean a battle of unimaginable ferocity. What troubled everyone most was that Xiaoyan still had not emerged. For the past year, the Falling Star Pavilion and the Netherworld Alliance had been locked in a fragile standoff. Despite uniting numerous factions, the Alliance had not dared to launch a full-scale war, restrained by a single man, Yao Lao. As a peak Half-Saint, he alone commanded enough power to keep the entire Alliance at bay. Unless they could deploy 2 experts of equal rank, the foundation of the Falling Star Pavilion would not be shaken. Yet even the heavenly Netherworld sect, with all its ancient heritage, possessed only one such supreme elder, long confined in seclusion. As for their allies, like the Ice River Valley, they had no Half-Saint to send at all. For a long time, the enemy could only launch small-scale ambushes to seize fleeting advantages, never once able to topple the Falling Star Pavilion, Xingyun. Yet this time was entirely different. The Netherworld Alliance Ming. He Alliance not only sent forth a formal declaration of war, but even threatened to strike directly at the pavilion's headquarters. Such an unusual move immediately stirred caution in Yao Lao. He understood that if the enemy dared to act so boldly, they must have secured new backing. Perhaps the long reclusive Grand Elder of the heavenly Netherworld sect had emerged, or else they had found another formidable ally. Whatever the case, the Falling Star Pavilion could not afford negligence. Preparations for a decisive battle were mandatory. Yao Lao swiftly issued orders: recall the elders from their missions abroad, fortify key sectors, and dispatch scouts to probe the movements of the Netherworld Alliance. The one to oversee these commands was none other than Kai Lin. In just 2 short years, her strength and renown had advanced by leaps and bounds. From a mere 5-star Du Venerate, she had broken through to the very peak of the realm. Her astonishing talent, coupled with her rare decisiveness and leadership, earned her respect not only as Xiaoyan's consort, but as a formidable figure in her own right. And yet, despite all preparations, unease still lingered within Kai Lin's heart. Xiaoyan had remained in seclusion for 2 full years without the slightest sign of emergence. Though Yao Lao constantly reassured her that his breakthrough was near each passing day, saw the stone gate remain silent and unmoving. The fated battle drew ever closer, but one of the pavilion's greatest pillars of strength had yet to appear. Kai Lin gazed at the moss-covered stone gate, her eyes filled with mingled hope and dread. After she and Yao Lao departed, the ancient gate quivered ever so faintly. A hairline crack appeared upon its surface as if heralding that something momentous was about to change. All throughout the Falling Star Pavilion, the atmosphere was suffocating. The sect had entered the highest state of alert. At last, the day of reckoning proclaimed by the Netherworld Alliance had arrived. News of the impending clash spread like wildfire across the Central Plains, drawing countless experts to witness the event. Though most came merely to spectate, the enemy did not turn them away. Instead, they sealed the surrounding regions and deployed strict patrols to prevent unforeseen disturbances. Atop the towering sky peak Tianfeng before the Grand Hall, a vast stone plaza had been leveled to serve as today's battlefield. Yao Lao stood with his hands clasped behind his back, silent and resolute. Behind him gathered Kai Lin, Little Fairy, Dr. Qing Lin, and the pavilion's core forces, all assembled in grim readiness. The air was heavy, thick with foreboding, as if heralding a duel of life and death. This battle would determine the very fate of the Falling Star Pavilion. Suddenly, space itself was torn asunder. From the rift stepped forth legions of the Netherworld Alliance. At their head strode a fearsome, ancient monster, the long-secluded powerhouse of the heavenly Netherworld sect, known to the world as the old demon Tianming Lao Yao. The moment he emerged, his oppressive aura swept forth. With chilling indifference, he issued his demand. The Falling Star Pavilion was to immediately withdraw from a 1,000-mile radius and swear eternal submission, never again to stand against the Netherworld Alliance. An arrogant demand, nothing short of forcing the Falling Star Pavilion to bow before the world was declared. The instant those words fell, the great formation secretly laid in advance flared to life, imprisoning the forces of the Netherworld Alliance within. The atmosphere between the two sides was taut as a drawn bowstring ready to snap at any moment. Suddenly, the old demon of the heavenly Netherworld sect let out a sinister smile. At his summons, space cracked once more. Two chilling auras surged forth, familiar yet oppressive. They were experts from the Hall of Souls Hundian, led by the second heavenly venerate Guyu. Alongside him came another half-saint, and with the old demon's presence, the enemy now commanded 3 half-saints in total. The warriors of the Falling Star Pavilion drew in sharp breaths, faces pale with dread. Yao Lao's expression grew dark. Only now did he understand why the Netherworld Alliance had dared act with such arrogance. Before such despairing odds, there was no retreat, only battle. His gaze hardened. Today's war was not merely for the pavilion's honor, but for the lives of everyone present. At his command, the pavilion's experts unleashed their fiercest auras, shaking the very heavens. Far away upon the surface of an ancient stone gate, faint cracks slowly spread as though heralding the awakening of something long dormant. Seeing Yao Lao's refusal to yield, the old demon's grin twisted into a snarl as he ordered a full assault. Guyu sneered, vowing to reap souls this day, utterly disregarding the pavilion. Against 3 half-saints, Yao Lao swiftly devised his strategy, facing both the old demon and Guyu alone, while Medusa, Little Dr. Fairy, and Qing Lin joined forces to restrain the remaining half-saint of the Hall of Souls. It was a perilous gamble, for to face 2 foes of equal rank alone seemed reckless. Yet Yao Lao knew if they were not stopped, the pavilion would be annihilated. The battle erupted. Both sides clashed with such ferocity that the entire star region was thrown into chaos. Yao Lao ignited his Dao Qi, locking firmly onto his 2 adversaries, ignoring their mockery as he struck first. Meanwhile, Kai Lin transformed into the 7-colored heaven-swallowing python. Xiao Xian released a flood of virulent poison, and Qing Lin summoned the phantom of an ancient heavenly serpent. Their combined might forced the 3 heavenly venerates of the Hall of Souls onto the defensive, unable to seize advantage for the moment. Yet while the pavilion bled and roared in the star realm deep in the rear mountains, the ancient stone gate began to fracture fissures, creeping down into the mountain's heart as though something was stirring from slumber. High above, Yao Lao battled alone against 2 half-saints. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, but still he endured. The 7-colored python form of Kai Lin was grievously wounded, scales shattered and blood streaming. Xiao Xian was struck down, falling to the earth exhausted, while Qing Lin too faltered under the onslaught. In that moment of distraction, Guyu seized an opening, striking Yao Lao from the sky and smashing him into the ground. With their strongest warrior fallen, despair consumed the pavilion. The old demon declared victory, preparing to end Yao Lao's life. Many believed this day would mark the pavilion's erasure from history. But at that instant, heaven and earth quaked. Flames erupted like a boundless sea, and a cold, commanding roar shook the souls of all who heard echoing through the 9 heavens. A power far beyond half-saint descended, leaving both the old demon and Guyu pale with dread. A descent impossible. The figure who appeared was none other than Xiao Yan. After 2 years of seclusion, not only had he broken through, he had stepped firmly into the true realm of Dusan.
Xiao emerged from seclusion, breaking through directly to the realm of Dusan. After giving his instructions, Xiao slowly lifted his head toward the sky, where Gu Yu, old demon Tianming, and the three heavenly venerable of the Hall of Souls were gathered, their eyes filled with caution as they stared at him. Xiaoyang's calm gaze caused their expressions to stiffen. None of them had anticipated the situation would reverse so abruptly. With just their senses, they realized Xiaoyan's current power, a true deux-saint, not merely a half-saint. The difference between half-saint and deux-saint was vast, though only one word apart. A half-saint, no matter how much stronger than the peak of deux-venerat, was still only a false saint, while only a true deux-saint could set foot on the highest level. Gu Yu had been stuck at this barrier for decades without success, old demon Tianming for even longer. Yet Xiaoyan, in only 2 short years, had bypassed the half-saint stage entirely and directly reached deux-saint. This left them deeply shaken. Xiaoyang's body flickered, and in an instant he appeared before the three. Gu Yu let out a dark shout, pretending calm, though inwardly shocked, for he knew that even if a deux-saint of the Han clan was summoned, it would not arrive in time. Xiaoyan waved his hand, instantly sealing the space and leaving them no retreat. The three exchanged glances, knowing clearly that if they did not join forces, they would certainly die. Simultaneously, they erupted with battle qi, condensing 3 monstrous torrents of energy like fierce dragons lunging toward Xiaoyan. His eyes gleamed, and calmly he raised his palm. Within it, 4 kinds of heavenly flames ignited together, swirling into a pitch-black vortex, darker than even a spatial black hole, radiating an aura of reincarnation. This was his new technique, Buddha's wrath reincarnation. The fiery vortex drifted outward and struck against the 3 torrents. In that instant, the entire sky seemed to collapse, but to everyone's horror, the torrents were instantly swallowed, dissolving like ice under fire, vanishing without a trace, as even space quaked and showed signs of breaking. The combined might of 3 half-saints could not even shake Xiaoyan's attack. Yao Lao gazed at the vortex, his heart trembling at the aura of annihilation, an aura that could even erase souls. Gu Yu, old demon Tianming, and the 3 heavenly venerable panicked, realizing fully that they were no match. They turned to flee, but Xiaoyan merely let out a cold snort, and the vortex spewed forth a black pillar of light that engulfed them as they retreated. Those caught within disintegrated swiftly, their battle qi collapsing, their screams echoing across the star realm. In utter despair, old demon Tianming chose to self-destruct his body, exploding into a terrifying sea of energy that cracked part of the spatial seal. Yet Xiaoyan calmly formed seals, and the vortex devoured the blast entirely, rendering his sacrifice meaningless. Amidst the chaos, Gu Yu shoved the 3 heavenly venerable forward as bait, seizing the chance to escape. Xiaoyan struck with one palm, reducing the venerable to ashes before he could even scream. Just as Gu Yu slipped away, space trembled, and a withered black hand reached out from the void, seizing him. It was the means of a Han clan deux-saint. Xiaoyan immediately countered his black flames, colliding with the hand, the space trembling violently under the clash. In the end, however, the Han clan expert succeeded in dragging Gu Yu away. Before leaving, he left behind a message. If Xiaoyan wished to save Xiaozhan, your father, he must come to the Han realm. Xiaoyan responded coldly, "Sooner or later I will come." The great battle of the Star Realm thus ended. Falling Star Pavilion, thanks to Xiaoyan, preserved its foundation, while his reputation spread like wildfire across the Central Plains. Alone, he had slain 2 half-saints and forced the Han clan to dispatch a deux-saint. From this day forth, none dared to underestimate Xiaoyan or Falling Star Pavilion again. Yet Xiaoyan knew clearly the true enemy still lay ahead, and the coming war with the Han clan would only grow more brutal. Xiaoyan had successfully broken through to become a deux-saint, his momentum like a raging storm, consecutively slaying 2 half-saint experts. Afterward, he led Falling Star Pavilion in a purge, sweeping away the remaining remnants of the Heavenly Netherworld sect. Their next target was none other than the Wind Lightning Pavilion. In this volume, we will follow the developments that ensue. At this moment, at the headquarters of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, Xiaoyan floated in the sky, his cold gaze cast down upon the chaotic mountain engulfed in flames. Leading the great army of Falling Star Pavilion, he had marched straight north, annihilating countless scattered forces of the Mingyi alliance along the way. Within his heart now remained no trace of mercy. He understood clearly that if he had not emerged in time, with the methods of the Heavenly Netherworld sect, and the Hall of Souls Falling Star Pavilion would have long since faced annihilation, wiped out without a trace, and perhaps even more miserably. The Central Plains was a land where the strong devoured the weak. Only with absolute power and unyielding strength could one endure. Honorable Lei, the leader of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, had been struck to the point of vomiting blood by a Du Venerate of Falling Star Pavilion. His venomous eyes glared at Xiaoyan as he roared furiously, "Xiaoyan, my Wind Lightning Pavilion has close ties with the heavenly demon Phoenix clan. If you dare destroy the pavilion, they will never let you go." Xiaoyan only replied indifferently, "The enmity between me and the heavenly demon Phoenix clan will have to be resolved sooner or later. I don't need you to remind me." His gaze fixed upon Honorable Lei, recalling the time when he had first entered the Wind Lightning mountain range back then. This man had been like an insurmountable peak, able to crush him with a mere wave of his hand. But today the situation had been completely reversed. 28 of Falling Star Pavilion's experts died by your hands. If you dared kill them back then, you should have known that today would come. Xiaoyang's eyes were icy cold as his hand slowly clenched. Honorable Lei, panic-stricken, immediately unleashed the 3,000 lightning movement, his figure splitting into countless lightning shadows across the sky. Yet Xiaoyan only sneered faintly as his hand tightened. Space itself collapsed, all the shadows froze, and blood and flesh exploded. In an instant, Honorable Lei was crushed into a mangled heap of meat, not even managing to utter final words. The Wind Lightning Pavilion, once a power that could summon the wind and rain across the northern region, was officially erased from the Central Plains. As Xiaoyan withdrew his hand, an elder of Falling Star Pavilion approached to report young Pavilion Master news of the Han clan has arrived. In recent years, they have been continuously suppressed by the Wind Lightning Pavilion. Their power has declined, and they have fallen from a first-rate clan to a second-rate one. The fact that they have even survived is already fortunate. Hearing this, Xiaoyan fell silent, a faint trace of guilt stirring in his heart. He knew the Han clan's suffering was because of him. Years ago, when he first arrived in the Central Plains, it was Han Shui who had saved him from the Desert of Death. He had once aided the Han clan in destroying the Hong clan and restoring their prestige, but in the years that followed, they had been oppressed to ruin by the Wind Lightning Pavilion, all due to their ties with him. Xiaoyan was no ungrateful man. Remembering the kindness of the past, he immediately dispatched 3 elders of Falling Star Pavilion to provide aid. In Northern Heaven City, the 3 elders of Falling Star Pavilion appeared. With a casual wave of their hands, they struck down the so-called experts bullying the Han clan. Han Shi, the clan leader, trembled as he bowed in respect, while beside him 2 women, Han Yue and Han Shui, stared in astonishment as though divine beings had descended. The elders of Falling Star Pavilion smiled faintly as they declared, "By the command of young Pavilion Master Xiaoyan, from this day forth, the Han clan shall take the place of the Wind Lightning Pavilion, becoming the ruling power of the North." Upon hearing that name, Han Shui trembled, her eyes misting with tears. In her heart, this was not only the chance to restore her clan, but also proof that Xiaoyan had never forgotten the kindness of years past. In just 10 days of vengeance, more than 20 factions were annihilated. Falling Star Pavilion rose like the midday sun, causing the entire Central Plains to tremble with fear. From this point forward, none dared look down upon this young power. Yet Xiaoyan and Yao Lao understood clearly the true enemies were not the Wind Lightning Pavilion, but the Hall of Souls and the Han clan. To resist them, they would need to form an alliance swiftly. Letters were dispatched to the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley. Only when the 3 great powers stood together would the alliance have the strength to face the Hall of Souls. And above all, the Pill Tower, the gathering place of the peak alchemists of the Central Plains, was the true key to deciding the outcome. Therefore, Xiaoyan and Yao Lao immediately set out, heading straight for Holy Pill City. A new decisive confrontation awaited them ahead. Each video is the result of careful selection and hard work. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to support us with a like and subscribe. The Star Realm War concluded with an outcome that shook the entire Central Plains. On the blazing battlefield, Xiaoyan, all by himself, slew 2 semi-sages, gravely injured another, and forced the Han clan to dispatch a doucant for reinforcement. This battle was like a thunderclap tearing apart the silent night, resounding across the world. The name of the Falling Star Pavilion, once trampled as weak, now thundered across the continent. Those who had once scorned them arrogantly now bowed in trembling submission. The Wind Lightning Pavilion, a force that had driven the Han clan to despair, was personally crushed by Xiaoyan. From that day on, the Han clan proudly ascended to the throne of Overlord in the northern region, a change in the balance of power thought to exist only in legends. In 10 days of blood and fire, nearly 20 sects were reduced to ashes. Though the flames of war had been extinguished, the aftershocks remained. The central plains trembled as they gazed toward the falling star pavilion, which had transformed from a meek lamb into a fierce tiger ready to pounce on any who dared to provoke them. Yet amid this triumphant chorus, Xiao carried a solemn note in his heart. For beyond the cheers of victory, he was still bound by ties of love and debt from the past, threads tethering his soul between light and shadow. As the soldiers of the Falling Star Pavilion withdrew, Xiao and Yao Lao did not rest. They immediately initiated a grand plan to form a supreme alliance capable of contending with the Hall of Souls. Summons were dispatched to two forces powerful enough to alter the fate of the world, the Flower Sect and the Blazing Flame Valley. At the Flower Sect, debates erupted like raging storms. To remain neutral or to join, to remain silent or to act, every argument was weighed. Yet it was the unwavering resolve of Yun, the beautiful and resolute sect master, that left the Grand Elders with no retreat. At last, a decisive decree was made: form an alliance to stand against the Hall of Souls. Meanwhile, at the Blazing Flame Valley, the red-haired ancestor Huo, whose temper burned like fire, initially dismissed the idea. But when Xiao promised to rid him of the hidden calamity in his body, the old ancestor's eyes lit up and his long-suppressed might erupted once more. He laughed thunderously, his words roaring like dragon's cry and tiger's roar. Alliance. It has been so many years since I emerged. Let us see whether the world still remembers the name Huo. News returned, and the grand hall of the Falling Star Pavilion erupted in cheers. Xiao, Medusa, and the little Dr. Fairy sighed in relief. The first step is always the hardest, yet their path unfolded more smoothly than expected. Only Yao Lao cautioned, without the pill tower, the alliance was still but a sandcastle before crashing waves. Without hesitation, Xiao and Yao Lao tore through space, heading to the pill region and directly to the pill tower. They were greeted by the three giants, Xuan Kong, Zitian Luozi, and Xuan Yi, former peers of Yao Lao. Their reunion was filled with laughter, yet when Yao Lao revealed his intent, the atmosphere grew heavy. The pill tower had always been neutral. To break that tradition, only the ancient ancestor had the authority. But the ancestor had vanished for many years. Then a shocking secret was revealed. The ancestor was never human, but a mutated ninth-grade mysterious pill that developed sentience. The truth left Xiao stunned. A pill that could transform into a human, leaving behind legacies, and many times saving the pill tower from destruction. But now he was gone, his whereabouts unknown. Without him, the decision of alliance rested on a vote of the Elder Council. Yao Lao, leveraging all his prestige together with the three giants, secured 5 votes, barely balancing against the opposing side. But just as hope glimmered, grim news struck. In 3 days, Elder Hu would rejoin the council. This man was stubborn, obstinate, and bore deep hatred toward Yao Lao. Once he appeared, the balance would surely tilt against them, turning all efforts into dust. Amid the deadlock, Xuan Yi cast his gaze upon Xiao, eyes gleaming. Yao Lao lacks the qualification, but Xiao does. Champion of the pill, gathering bearer of the pill tower's giant's mantle, he has the right to challenge Elder Hao. Thus, in the square of the little pill tower, countless eyes turned toward Xiao, the young man bearing the fate of the alliance on his shoulders. Elder Hao appeared, his voice cold as ice. Yao Chen, so you are not dead yet. Years ago you stole my chance. Today I shall crush both your pride and that of your disciple. The elder selection began. Elder Hu, giving his all, refined a pill that drew down the 9-colored pill lightning, an ultimate rarity that earned nods of approval from many elders. He laughed heartily, certain of his victory. But Xiao was different. He did not use ordinary cauldrons, but wielded heavenly flames, conjuring a surging fire dragon to refine the Bodhi pill, a pinnacle 9th-grade pill. Then, amidst the thunderclouds, an anomaly occurred. The sky split open as a black bolt struck down. The black demon lightning, a pill tribulation so terrifying even semi-sages dared not withstand it. The entire crowd held their breath, certain that Xiao was doomed. Yet, within the storm, Xiao strode forth, standing tall like a spear. With a single punch he roared, "Break for me!" A thunderous explosion resounded, shattering the 9-colored pill lightning and dispersing the black demon lightning. And from the radiant light, a Bodhi Great Restoration pill emerged, a supreme pill surpassing the pinnacle, doubling the chance of breaking from Du Venerate to Semisage. The Grand Elder pronounced his voice like heavenly decree. The final victor, Xiao. The entire square erupted in thunderous cheers. Xiao was officially instated as a Pill Tower Elder, shattering Elder Hao's dreams and opening the gateway to the Alliance. The Falling Star Pavilion blazed with brilliance, welcoming heroes from all directions. The flower sect descended, led by the dignified Yun Yun. The fiery seas of the blazing flame valley surged as the Huoyun ancestor appeared, his red hair burning like eternal flame. The pill tower presented its new elder, Xiao himself. At that moment, the Tianfu alliance was officially born, its aura overwhelming heaven and earth. But just as cups were raised, a chilling black mist abruptly descended, twisting space itself. A phantom appeared, its solemn voice echoing, "Tianfu alliance, not bad, but I wonder, will you still live long enough to enjoy it?" The grand hall shook. The phantom was none other than the vice hall master of the Hall of Souls. He unveiled a cruel scene, Xiaoyan's father imprisoned in shackles within a dark dungeon, to force him into surrendering the two ancient gods' jade. In that instant, upon seeing his father, killing intent erupted within Xiaoyan, nearly overwhelming his reason. Yet he restrained the fury and coldly declared, severing all schemes, "As long as the ancient jade remains, my father lives. If its resonance vanishes, I shall hand it to the Gu clan. As for you, abandon your delusions forever." The phantom laughed eerily, left a chilling threat, and dissipated into the dark mist. The grand hall fell silent, but no will faltered. On the contrary, the attempted intimidation only steeled the resolve of the assembled forces. Xiaoyan stood tall at the hall's center, his voice booming like thunder. "The alliance is forged. From now on, the Hall of Souls is our mortal enemy. When they strike, we shall stand united in battle." All the experts nodded in unison. In that moment, a supreme storm rose over the Central Plains, heralding the great war that would decide the fate of the continent. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more epic battles. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next step in Xiaoyan's fiery journey with the Tianfu Alliance.